First came the shouting, then fists pounding against the metal gate. All I could think was, this isn't how normal neighbors behave. They accused me of being out of compliance, claiming my cameras were surveillance tools. In reality, I'd spent years tracking local wildlife, investing my savings and sanity into this sanctuary. I wanted to scream back, but instead I laughed because the whole scene felt like a badly staged play where everyone forgot their lines. Yet behind that laugh was the gut-deep knowledge that they weren't bluffing. Not for a second. Tell me in the comments, would you have stood your ground or just walked away? I came here for her, not for harassment. Peace ended when 3 men in black vests stormed my filming site like they owned the place. Their heavyset leader, Mike Thompson, barked about unauthorized commercial activity on community-controlled land, while his sidekicks waved around walkie-talkies as if they were coordinating a tactical raid. Their flimsy, laminated badges flashed in the sun, cheap props meant to project borrowed authority. They looked less like enforcers and more like part-time mall security. Adrenaline hit hard as I noticed their eyes scanning my equipment with calculating interest. 3 years of documentary work and $20,000 worth of cameras and lenses sat behind nothing more than chain-link fencing. My telephoto glass, stabilization rigs, digital recorders, everything I owned, everything my career rested on, felt suddenly exposed. If they chose to go beyond intimidation, I could lose it all in minutes. Mike insisted they had HOA jurisdiction, but stumbled the moment I asked for official documents. His confidence faltered as simple questions poked holes in his story. Das. Other 2 shifted uneasily, clearly aware their position wasn't solid. Their so-called uniforms had no real logos, no professional marks, nothing resembling legitimate authority. When I asked which HOA they were representing, Mike's mask began to crack. He waved papers, muttering that Mrs. Henderson had sent them, demanding I comply with venue development standards. Venue development? That had nothing to do with wildlife filming. The forms looked like generic HOA paperwork with suspicious handwritten add-ons. His crew exchanged nervous glances as I pressed harder. The whole thing felt cobbled together, improvised, hardly official. I held up my permit. From the Department of Natural Resources through the bars of the gate, keeping the metal between us. It gave me full legal right to document wildlife here, both for education and for commercial purposes. I announced this clearly. Mike leaned in to read, his certainty evaporating as reality hit. His partners stepped closer too, squinting at the document that dismantled their entire premise when they labeled my zoom lens spying equipment. I couldn't hold back laughter. If this is spy gear, then my TV must be military tech, I joked. The absurdity of their accusations sliced through the tension. It was obvious. They had no clue what professional wildlife filming involved. This land was never yours. I didn't sign anything. I won't. My words hit harder than I expected, and Mike's expression gave him away. Donna was behind this charade. She hadn't bothered with a conversation. She'd gone straight to intimidation. Show me your real HOA. Authorization, I demanded. True enforcement requires credentials, community votes, and transparent regulation. Mike had none of it. His posture collapsed as I kept pressing, and his 2 companions grew more restless. Their little performance of authority unraveled under scrutiny. Mike leaned closer, trying intimidation instead. Listen, pal. Cooperate now or things escalate. Mrs. Henderson hates delays. The threat dripped with aggression, no trace of professional protocol left. His men moved in, abandoning their act completely. The confrontation shifted from bureaucratic farce to potential violence. I slammed the gate shut, pulled out my phone, and laughed. The real police were about to meet the imposters. When Donna Henderson finally got me on the phone, her voice was slick with forced charm, laced with sharp business undertones. One moment she was sugar-sweet, the next she was issuing demands. The performance was too polished. She'd rehearsed this many times. Papers shuffled and keyboards clicked in the background, proof she was working the angles live as we spoke. Hurry. Timing wasn't coincidence. While her hired muscle loitered outside, she emailed me a glossy brochure for a lakefront wedding venue, with my sanctuary photoshopped into the centerpiece. archways, seating, floral arrangements, the works. The production value was staggering, meaning she'd spent serious money on this scheme. Seeing my carefully protected sanctuary turned into a wedding backdrop felt like a personal violation. She even pulled out boilerplate HOA documents, but scrawled her own fees into them. She spoke like a business mogul staging a takeover, blurring the line between HOA authority and private profiteering. It was obvious the HOA was her cover, not her cause. 18 signatures already, Lucas. Do you want to be the last holdout when the road goes public? She snapped straight to the point. I asked about proper approval processes, and she dodged with vague claims about her right to set commercial rates. The fees she quoted were outrageous, clearly designed to push me out rather than raise revenue. Her slippery answers revealed she wasn't following any real governance. This was extortion wearing HOA clothing. Then she dismissed my work entirely. Birdwatching, she sneered, trivializing 3 years of professional conservation documentation. Rage surged. I wanted to throw my tripod into the lake. She had no respect for the science or the artistry of my work. To her, it was an obstacle, blocking her wedding empire. This location should serve bridal visions, not your wildlife hobby, she finally declared, stripping away the pretense. There it was, the truth. She wasn't protecting the neighborhood. She was carving out a commercial empire. A newsletter came with muffins, no signatures needed. That was her idea of legitimacy. Meanwhile, she bragged about existing bookings, meaning she'd been taking deposits for months without legal right. She wasn't just harassing me, she was scamming real couples out of real money. For me, the timing couldn't be worse. 3 years of work and Netflix contracts depended on capturing migration this season. If she shut me out now, I'd lose. Everything. Current projects, future opportunities, my career itself. They called it community spirit. I called it mob psychology with snacks. Your demands sound like personal business, not community management, I told her flatly. She went silent, clearly unprepared for someone who actually understood HOA procedure. Her entire racket thrived on ignorance. She started spouting about emergency powers during development, a phrase that was pure fiction. HOA law doesn't work that way, and she knew it. When I pushed for details, she stumbled, copying legal-sounding words into contexts that made no sense. My sanctuary had become Donna's fraudulent wedding brochure, and the irony wasn't lost on me. Join the HOA, pay my fees, or move your amateur filming somewhere else. That was her final ultimatum. Cold, transactional, leaving no room for compromise. My rights, my work, my livelihood, dismissed as disposable. And then the worst blow. Someone had tipped her off about my contracts. A neighbor sent me a link, lucasroinson.org, fake photos, falsified timestamps, even accusations of spying on kids. All of it lies, polished into a professional smear site. My coffee turned to ash as I stared at the headline. The style, the drama, it screamed Donna. And the timing, just 48 hours after our clash, was no accident. My stomach twists as I realize she's moved from direct intimidation to openly attacking my character. Instead of accurately describing legitimate wildlife cameras, her accusations recast my motion-activated equipment as tools for monitoring private nocturnal activity. The article turns my professional gear into something sinister, completely misrepresenting its conservation purpose. Through deliberately chosen words, she transforms infrared wildlife sensors into invasive spy devices. The claims depict me as a voyeuristic predator rather than a serious documentary filmmaker. Her approach targets my professional reputation while avoiding outright falsehoods that could clearly qualify as slander. The sophistication of this manipulation hints at legal advice or prior experience with campaigns aimed at destroying someone's reputation. My hands shake with anger as I read further, encountering fabricated claims about my character and ethics. Within an hour, the Nature Foundation calls, expressing deep concern over my permit compliance and professional conduct, all based on these false allegations. Their anxious tone suggests they are contemplating suspending my authorization solely. Due to lies, my streaming platform contracts could vanish if conservation organizations withdraw support over these manufactured scandals. The timing of this attack indicates careful planning, designed to inflict maximum damage on my career. 3 years of legitimate work now hang in the balance because of complete fabrications. The images show my equipment, but digital manipulation creates false stories of surveillance. Someone photographed my cameras with a smartphone, then altered metadata to suggest inappropriate use. The technical evidence doesn't align with my professional apparatus, exposing deliberate deception. These doctored images resemble falsified receipts or manipulated financial records designed to support false claims. The timestamp changes are sloppy, showing impossible recording dates and durations that defy technical reality. Through extensive research, I confirmed that HOAs cannot legally restrict permitted commercial activities on non-member properties under state or federal law. Donna's claims have no grounding in property law or community governance authority. Her jurisdiction applies only to HOA members and their properties, not independent landowners with state environmental permits. Legal precedent strongly favors permitted activities over local restrictions, especially for environmental documentation. Federal environmental protections override local HOA rules in legitimate conservation cases. Constitutional Commerce Clause protections also shield my work from local interference. Mrs. Sarah Patterson, an elderly neighbor with silver hair and a gentle presence, privately confides that she has observed my bird documentation for 3 years. "I've watched you work from my kitchen window every morning," she says, clearly concerned about the false rumors circulating. She notes that photographing her and ducks on public waterfront is hardly private and that no one ever voted on filming fees or surveillance policies. Her testimony provides critical character evidence against Donna's fabricated scandal. She has lived here longest and understands the difference between legitimate wildlife work and intrusive surveillance. I carefully examine public HOA records and find no votes on commercial fees, no jurisdiction over non-member properties, and no legal basis for Donna's claims. The records reveal she has invented nearly all her claimed authority without approval or legal foundation. Her presidency does not grant power to create new fees, restrict permitted activities, or enforce regulations on non-members. HOA bylaws limit authority to member properties and common areas. Every demand she has made far exceeds her legal jurisdiction. These governance documents expose her entire campaign as unauthorized personal action. If I were spying on neighbors, the show would be called Pajamas After Dark, not documenting migration patterns. The absurdity of the surveillance claims becomes clear when comparing them to my actual footage and conservation goals. 3 years of documentation show only birds, wildlife, and natural habitats, no inappropriate images or privacy violations. The scientific purpose of migration documentation directly contradicts every claim in the false article. My work serves environmental conservation and public education rather than voyeurism. Motion sensors activate at night, detecting movement around my filming stations that shouldn't occur during normal wildlife activity. Infrared alerts indicate human presence near my equipment during hours when most animals are sheltered. Someone seems to be approaching my stations at night for reasons unrelated to wildlife. This coincides suspiciously with the escalation of harassment and the blog's fabricated scandal. Whoever is there clearly intends to remain unseen. I record everything carefully, knowing Donna's actions violate multiple statutes regarding defamation, business interference, and property rights. Evidence includes screenshots of the false article, metadata analysis of manipulated photos, and timestamp documentation of intimidation. This could support both criminal and civil action for harm to my reputation and finances. The systematic nature of her campaign indicates premeditation, not spontaneous community concern. Her escalating tactics suggest she won't stop without legal intervention. Security footage and motion logs provide solid evidence of harassment and escalation patterns recognized by courts as criminal behavior. Documentation shows progression, from verbal intimidation to character attacks through false publications aimed at destroying my livelihood. Each incident builds on the last, demonstrating organized harassment rather than genuine concern for privacy or property. The evidence supports charges of stalking, defamation, and business interference under state law. Her actions meet the legal definition of organized harassment, requiring immediate law enforcement response. The domain wasn't random. It was registered under a board member's LLC. Donna wasn't merely defaming me, she was actively investing in my downfall. Officer Jason Martinez arrives stern and official with paperwork regarding supposed threats against community enforcement personnel originating from my property. His patrol car parks in my driveway, blocking escape routes as he conducts a serious investigation. The formal approach suggests genuine legal concern based on Donna's false reports. His uniform and badge represent real authority in stark contrast to the fake security theatrics of her hired personnel. The weight of potential criminal charges hangs over me as he examines my memory cards and digital storage. Thousands of hours of footage are under scrutiny, capable of either validating my conservation work or destroying 3 years of effort. The officer's methodical approach suggests thoroughness rather than a predetermined conclusion, giving me cautious hope for fair treatment. His technical skill with digital evidence indicates proper training in modern investigation and forensic analysis. The process feels like a career-defining moment. Tension peaks as Officer Martinez initially appears ready to seize my equipment based on Donna's reports of surveillance and threats. His preliminary questions focus on my recording capabilities, storage systems, and footage content, not permits or professional credentials. He treats this as a legitimate criminal investigation rather than a civil neighbor dispute. His serious demeanor shows the false reports were convincing enough to justify police attention and potential evidence seizure. The prospect of losing my equipment terrifies me more than anything else. Thousands of files show only wildlife, landscapes, and natural behaviors. No privacy violations. In 3 years, the evidence demonstrates consistent focus on conservation, not human surveillance. Officer Martinez reviews months of footage, finding only birds, seasonal changes, and migration patterns for scientific purposes. The professional quality and scientific focus are immediately clear, contradicting all fabricated claims. His expression shifts from suspicion to understanding as the evidence disproves every accusation. They can't penalize you retroactively. I called Owen earlier, and he confirmed my suspicions, he explains. Officer Martinez outlines proper protocols, growing frustrated with Donna's unauthorized enforcement campaign. Legitimate HOA violations require written notice, reasonable time frames, and hearings. Donna bypassed all of this. His legal knowledge exposes how extensively she has violated procedures meant to protect property owners. Real enforcement follows strict steps mandated by law to ensure due process and prevent harassment. Her actions resemble criminal harassment more than valid community management. State permits override local regulations. He reassures me that my federal environmental permits supersede HOA authority, vindicating my legal position entirely. I have no standing concern regarding her demands or enforcement efforts. Environmental permits carry federal protections that override HOA authority in all circumstances without exception. Donna's entire operation collapses the moment it faces genuine legal review from someone grounded in real law instead of invented authority. The sense of relief that comes with official vindication is overwhelming after days of mounting pressure and relentless character attacks. Her voice cuts through the radio with her usual exaggerated theatrics and false urgency, this time warning that my security team is supposedly threatening violence and property damage. The staged alarm only highlights her ongoing attempt to manipulate law enforcement in service of her personal agenda and profit-driven scheme. The fact that her call comes exactly as the officer investigates makes it obvious she's been tracking police activity, waiting for a chance to interfere. Her desperate need to control the story shows in her increasingly outrageous accusations, each one contradicting physical evidence. The gap between her wild claims and documented facts creates glaring credibility issues that shatter her position. "Ma'am," Officer Martinez replies, his tone professionally measured though edged with irritation, "you cannot hire private guards to enforce a non-existent HOA. That's impersonation and harassment under state law." His statement slices through her invented authority and exposes her behavior as criminal. Drawing on his expertise in community law, he outlines her fundamental misunderstanding of HOA limits and legal procedures. His response not only corrects her but also safeguards my constitutional right to lawful activities. Hearing this official rebuke broadcast publicly humiliates her, stripping away her false authority in front of her hired enforcers and anyone else listening. "Dad and I dug that inlet when I was 15. It wasn't just water, it was heritage. Listening to her dramatic tone over police radio, I can't help but wonder in disbelief, does she really think she's orchestrating a SWAT raid against a nature photographer? The absurdity of her military-style theatrics in a simple civil dispute makes clear her disconnect from legal reality. Her flair for escalation suggests someone who's absorbed too many crime dramas without grasping actual law enforcement or constitutional boundaries. The contrast between her inflated self-importance and the officer's dismissive professionalism is almost comical. Officer Martinez studies my HOA research with genuine interest, confirming that Donna never held membership votes to authorize fees or expand authority. What she's been running is not community governance but a personal business scam. His analysis validates my findings while adding a law enforcement perspective on the criminal implications. The repeated disregard for proper process signals criminal intent, not mere confusion about governance. By statute, her actions meet definitions of fraud, impersonation, and unlawful business interference. The officer's documentation now lays the groundwork for both criminal charges and civil claims for reputational and financial damages. No sooner does Martinez leave than my phone rings. Donna again, her fury barely hidden behind a thin veil of civility. "You think calling the police ends this?" she spits. "You have no idea what resources I have." Even after direct legal correction, her threats intensify, showing a total detachment from legal reality or consequences. Her persistence, despite official rebuke, reveals either desperation or delusion about her power. Now, every threat becomes further evidence of criminal harassment that can strengthen a case against her. Donna quoted bylaws like scripture. I cursed under my breath. Before leaving, Martinez advised, "Document everything. This looks like organized deception, not genuine. Community management. If it continues, file harassment charges." His guidance turns my defensive record-keeping into formal evidence collection, tools for prosecution rather than just personal protection. The focus now shifts from responding to harassment to preparing a criminal case, one that could shield other potential victims. His words leave me certain. I'm not just resisting an overzealous HOA president, but a fraudulent enterprise masquerading as neighborhood governance. That realization transforms my approach, from passive cooperation to active resistance. Her consistent violations demand criminal justice intervention, not compromise. This isn't just about protecting my work, it's about preventing others from falling prey to the same scheme. My documentation may safeguard future residents from fraudulent governance disguised as community oversight. Without resistance, in just 10 days, paperwork could trap me into an HOA I never agreed to join. Donna rushes to stage an emergency community meeting on so-called filming privacy, complete with a flashy projector and a dramatic slideshow. The room hums with tension as residents sit in neatly lined rows, some anxious, some skeptical. Her presentation is filled with alarmist red text and ominous graphics designed to stir fear, not present facts. The notice was sent only 12 hours earlier, limiting who could realistically attend and challenge her. I arrive with my laptop, requesting equal time to show the actual footage. The audience leans, half forward in suspicion, half back in doubt. An entire neighborhood divided on folding chairs. Some neighbors look worried about privacy, others doubtful of Donna's claims. Her supporters cluster in front, while undecideds keep to the back. When I'm finally allowed to present, I play 20 minutes of breathtaking bird migration footage. Faces soften, suspicion turns to awe. Mrs. Patterson, who has loved the great blue heron for decades, grows teary watching it soar across the screen. The room falls silent, the beauty of nature overwhelming Donna's narrative of surveillance. Residents murmur their appreciation for wildlife they never realized lived in their own backyards. The images speak for themselves, scientific documentation, not invasion. I explain the legal basics of HOA authority. True HOAs require member votes for fees and enforcement. Donna sidestepped every rule, running a personal business under the guise of governance. Residents gasp, realizing they've been misled. Her presidency never gave her power to invent fees, restrict outsiders, or hire private security. Concern spreads through the crowd as neighbors realize the depth of her deception. Watching them respond to my work, I realize my 3 years of effort matter beyond my career. It preserves environmental heritage for the community, something families can pass down. The footage captures diversity they never knew existed here. Then Tom Wilson, once her supporter, stands up. We never voted on any of this. Not once. His public break shatters Donna's credibility and encourages others to question her authority. The shift is visible as he joins those backing me. The room transforms from confusion into organized resistance. Desperate, Donna pivots from privacy to economic opportunity, arguing the area should serve weddings and business ventures instead of hobbies. The mask falls, her true commercial motive laid bare. Even her supporters squirm as it becomes undeniable. A retired attorney with silver hair rises and begins asking pointed questions. Donna, where are the minutes showing member approval for commercial rentals? You cannot simply turn community property into a business asset. His calm authority slices through her facade. He presses, show us the documents authorizing filming fees or venue rentals. The demand exposes the complete fiction of her authority. Her failure to produce proof speaks louder than words. The attorney's scrutiny shifts the crowd from confusion to clarity. They now see the deception. Her evasive responses only deepen the damage. When she absurdly claims my conservation art blocks wedding celebrations, I nearly laugh out loud. The scene feels like a game show. Choose between trusting Donna's fantasy or the undeniable evidence of wildlife preservation. The contrast between her profit-driven scheme and legitimate scientific work borders on comedy. Pressed further, she blurts out that she has powerful backers who see the property's development potential, yet cannot name them or provide contracts. The claim reeks of invention or concealed accomplices. Her unraveling is plain to everyone. The room splits clearly between loyalists and skeptics, her base shrinking as opposition grows. Then Mrs. Patterson stands, voice steady and commanding. I've lived here since before this HOA even existed. I've watched every election. No one ever voted to make Donna our business manager or venue operator. Her testimony, grounded in history, strips away what's left of Donna's foundation. A founding resident's statement exposes how Donna recently seized authority and began overstepping her bounds. Her testimony directly challenges every claim of community approval. If anyone demanded proof, I could deliver more than just words. I powered up the projector. The slide that appeared wasn't hers. It was mine. My motion-sensitive cameras alerted me at 2:15 a.m., capturing multiple figures moving near my filming stations in the dead of night. Infrared sensors triggered simultaneously across several zones, indicating coordinated human activity rather than random wildlife. Most nocturnal animals avoid this open area at peak darkness, leaving humans as the only plausible presence. The timing aligned perfectly with the fallout from the disastrous community meeting. Someone clearly decided that public embarrassment required private revenge. I had set up night vision cameras to study owl hunting patterns, never imagining I'd record criminal saboteurs instead of wildlife. The irony hit me. Predators of flesh, and greed replacing natural hunters, moving through my conservation site. Equipment designed to celebrate environmental beauty now captured its deliberate destruction by people claiming authority. The footage exceeded anything I could have imagined. For documenting crime, conservation technology had turned into proof of conspiracy. Years of documentation vanished in moments. My cameras plunged into murky water. 3 saboteurs systematically destroyed my apparatus, churning the water and dismantling mounts, while Donna directed from the shoreline. Her voice carried with military precision, coordinating the destruction. The meticulous sabotage pointed to careful planning, not spontaneous vandalism. Each person targeted specific equipment, indicating prior reconnaissance and tactical organization. Donna's leadership left no room for plausible deniability regarding criminal intent. Mike Thompson slipped on the muddy bank and plunged into the water, a splash so loud it seemed to shock even the fish. His stumble offered the only comic relief amid the devastation. Attempting stealth, they sounded like a clumsy fishing show. The other saboteurs froze, clearly unprepared for such a display of incompetence. Multiple camera angles captured his fall, showing clear facial identification. Night vision recorded everything: faces, vehicles, and license plates. The technical quality surpassed typical police evidence standards, creating a complete record for prosecuting criminal conspiracy. Every participant became identifiable through multiple angles and lighting conditions. License plate data provided immediate vehicle owner identification. The evidence could support felony charges against everyone involved. My heart raced watching years of work crumble, torn between fear of total loss and relief that my cameras continued recording. The emotional roller coaster, trauma at watching deliberate destruction, satisfaction at capturing evidence, was intense. The equipment represented not just financial investment, but years of environmental dedication and scientific effort. The destruction threatened my livelihood but created undeniable proof for criminal prosecution. The psychological impact sparked lasting anger and resolve for justice. As police arrived responding to my 911 call, Jennifer and Mark Davis stormed up, furious over stolen wedding deposits. "We paid $5,000 for a venue she doesn't control," Jennifer shouted, visibly upset. "She stole our money for property she doesn't own." The timing amid the criminal investigation proved systematic fraud beyond mere harassment. Their records showed ongoing theft affecting multiple victims, bolstering criminal charges and revealing the enterprise's scale. $20,000 in damaged cameras and 3 years of work might have been ruined, but the night vision footage survived. Intact in waterproof casings, the financial losses established strong felony charges while securing evidence for prosecution. Professional damages became claims for restitution. Surviving footage could support insurance claims and replace destroyed equipment. Ironically, the destruction strengthened legal standing. During Donna's arrest, additional wedding contracts fell from her car, showing she collected over $30,000 in deposits for unauthorized venue rentals. Physical evidence proved theft from multiple couples who believed they were purchasing legitimate services. Her signatures on agreements for properties she didn't own or control expanded the charges from harassment to organized fraud across state lines. The criminal enterprise stretched far beyond my situation. Neighbors awoke to police lights and chaos. Mrs. Patterson emerged in her robe, shocked at the crime scene. "This isn't community management. This is organized crime," she declared, surveying the damage. Her testimony gave credibility to the charges, showing the neighborhood that their supposed representative operated a criminal enterprise. Her condemnation eroded any remaining community support for Donna. Officer Martinez explained the destruction's criminal nature to gathering residents. This wasn't HOA enforcement. It was property destruction and organized business theft. His professional assessment educated the community on Donna's crimes, transforming confusion into understanding of the necessity for prosecution. 2 saboteurs fled on foot, but Mike got caught waist-deep in the lake when patrol cars arrived with spotlights. His dramatic capture delivered a satisfying conclusion, ensuring immediate consequences for at least one perpetrator: the arrest. Scene became a local legend and provided crucial witness testimony. His capture enabled identification of accomplices and investigation of the criminal network. If they believed destroying my equipment would defeat me, they underestimated what I had recorded. Donna's voice echoed across the water, issuing demolition orders, all captured by my microphone. At the station, a USB revealed her systematic criminal operation, months of incriminating emails and plans. A detective spread the digital files across the desk, revealing a sophisticated fraud network disguised as community improvement. Correspondence between Donna, Mike Thompson Security, and Premium Events LLC showed coordinated deception targeting multiple property owners. Each document built a case of organized crime rather than isolated harassment. The electronic trail proved 6 months of premeditation. My cameras inadvertently recorded Donna giving orders with crystal clarity. Tonight, we clear the site permanently. Tomorrow, this becomes our premium venue, and the filming contract is void. The audio confession provided prosecutors undeniable proof of criminal leadership and commercial motivation. Voice analysis matched previous recordings from phone calls, eliminating any defense based on subordinate blame. Federal prosecutors called it the most damning evidence they had ever seen. Metadata confirmed the recording's authenticity. The Sid Davis couple supplied receipts showing Donna collected deposits for multiple spring weddings at property she did not control. Jennifer documented systematic theft affecting at least 7 couples who believed they were purchasing legitimate services. Financial records revealed she charged premium rates without providing access or services. Mark discovered Donna never owned any wedding venue property in the state. The fraud crossed county lines, triggering federal jurisdiction. Investigation uncovered that Donna's event company specialized in venue acquisition via community intimidation rather than legitimate rentals. Her business model targeted property owners with environmental permits, using fabricated HOA authority to force them out, then converting the locations into unauthorized commercial venues. Her website advertised these coercive tactics. The scheme represented organized racketeering, not individual acts, with similar patterns in 3 neighboring counties. Listening to Donna's recorded voice plotting the destruction of 3 years of conservation work, my hands shook with anger. The casual planning of ruin for commercial gain caused lasting trauma. Her voice revealed complete disregard for environmental preservation, scientific research, and property rights, even laughing about destroying wildlife habitats for wedding photography backdrops. Phone records revealed coordination between Donna, Mike Thompson's security firm, and Premium Events, LLC. Each call documented planning for intimidation, false police reports, character assassination, and property destruction, forming a coordinated criminal enterprise. Evidence showed premeditation, forged documents, impersonation of authority, and interstate business fraud. Emails from 4 months prior detailed surveillance of my filming schedule to time sabotage during peak migration for maximum professional impact. The attack was calculated to destroy my career, not address legitimate community concerns. Timing demonstrated sophisticated planning designed to inflict maximum harm. Records revealed Donna never held legitimate elections for claimed authority, making all her actions business theft, not governance. HOA records showed she assumed presidency via fraudulent proxies. Her entire authority structure was criminal impersonation. Confronted with overwhelming evidence, she claimed non-existent emergency community powers, portraying herself as a victim. Despite clear proof of leadership in criminal activity, her defense relied on imaginary legal authority and delusional claims of protecting property values while destroying environmental assets. Her attorney and everyone else saw through the lies. The district attorney filed charges for vandalism, theft, conspiracy, false reporting, impersonation, and racketeering under state and federal laws. Charges reflected the enterprise's sophistication and interstate scope, with significant prison time and financial penalties. Racketeering alone could mean decades in prison. The case became one of the state's most elaborate HOA fraud prosecutions. While Donna called it development, the FBI labeled it racketeering. Federal agents investigated mail theft and interstate business crimes, elevating penalties. The FBI's organized crime unit took jurisdiction. Federal charges carried mandatory minimum sentences and asset forfeiture. The investigation extended to similar schemes in neighboring states, threatening full dismantling of Donna's criminal network. The USB contained more than contracts. It held her confession. Federal judges confirmed my nature filming permits were constitutionally protected and ruled Donna's scheme as organized crime across state lines. The ruling set precedent protecting environmental filmmakers from fraudulent HOA schemes. State. Environmental permits override local governance restrictions for legitimate conservation work. Constitutional protection applies to all authorized documentary filmmakers. Expert witnesses, neighbors, and agency representatives testified to my professional conduct and Donna's lack of authority. DNR experts emphasized the scientific value of long-term migration documentation. Mrs. Patterson's testimony highlighted community support, contrasting Donna's isolated criminal behavior. Character witnesses validated my work and exposed her deception. Federal prosecutors paired my night vision footage with authentic wildlife samples, demonstrating the stark difference between art and crime. Jurors reacted to the contrast between genuine conservation and criminal vandalism, making the footage the prosecution's most compelling evidence. Donna received 4 years in federal prison, had to pay triple damages totaling $90,000, return all wedding deposits with interest, was banned for life from HOA leadership, and was permanently restrained from my property. Penalties reflected the enterprise's sophistication and multiple victim impact. Consecutive federal sentences applied for multiple crimes. Financial penalties included punitive damages for deterrence and full victim compensation. The lifetime show ban prevents future targeting of other communities. Premium Events, Yao LLC faced federal investigation, and Mike Thompson's security firm lost licenses and faced conspiracy charges. Federal prosecution dismantled the entire fraud infrastructure. Assets were seized, pending restitution to victims. Similar schemes in 5 other states were exposed. Subpoenas voided fraudulent wedding contracts, enabling class action lawsuits for additional damages. Attorney Jennifer Walsh represented all victims, ensuring full recovery and deterrence. My story became a special episode when Crime Attacks Nature filmmakers, highlighting both conservation and HOA fraud awareness. The documentary educated communities on fraudulent governance while celebrating environmental work, generating national attention for filmmaker protection. Federal restitution not only replaced destroyed cameras, but upgraded night vision and conservation equipment, funding professional advancement and educational outreach. The recovery turned criminal loss into opportunity. Neighbors now understand the difference between authentic governance and criminal operations. Under Tom Wilson's leadership, residents became informed citizens, protecting future environmental and community efforts. The neighborhood reform preserves environmental work while strengthening democratic participation. When the judge announced the sentence, a heron landed on the lake. My father would have smiled. Donna made one last feeble attempt, claiming she was helping the community. I met her gaze and said, "You weren't helping anyone. You ran a criminal enterprise under a fake HOA mask." That final confrontation ended her charade. No excuses could survive months of footage, witnesses, and documents stacked against her. Leaving court, the air felt lighter, sharper, almost as if the lake had been holding its breath. 3 years of filming, long mornings in the marsh, sleepless nights protecting equipment, all became proof that standing your ground matters. I wasn't just defending cameras and contracts, I was defending the right to work without extortion disguised as community service. The courtroom didn't just grant me victory, it gave future HOA fraud targets a shield. Neighbors who had doubted me shook my hand, some apologized, others nodded silently. All understood. This was never about neighborhood politics. It was about a woman turning a community into her personal racket and getting caught. They wanted to turn wetlands into a wedding stage. Instead, they got subpoenas, headlines, and the reminder that greed has limits. Conservation won, legally and in the hearts of those living beside me. Sometimes laughing, locking the gate, and calling the police isn't just survival, it's winning. If you're still reading, share your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, or support QA Stories via the Super Thanks button. Until next time, keep gates strong, cameras rolling, and never let anyone rewrite your story. Even against the loudest bullies or the most dramatic Karens, the truth lands. Just like that heron on my lake. That's a wrap from QA Stories, but there's plenty more drama, twists, and unbelievable stories ahead.